Where's everyone at?
Perhaps you've also gradually realized this. Las Vegas is becoming emptier than ever, even after what seemed like a busy summer travel season. On the street corners, the tents of the homeless stretch out like a giant slum. The Strip, a symbol of luxury, also became deserted, without a soul in sight. And even casinos that never stopped spinning fell silent, leaving roulette tables empty and slot machines covered in a thick layer of dust. Las Vegas today is the canary in the coal mine of the US economy. This city is on the brink of collapse, and its instability portends a more desperate future. When industries reliant on tourism, luxury spending, and real estate are no longer sustainable, the entire United States could face a much larger collapse. In today's video, we'll step through the bright lights to look at the dark side where Vegas is slowly losing its soul. Closed casinos, dilapidated motels, and stories from the very people of Las Vegas. Those who once believed they were living in a land of opportunity, but now struggle daily to survive. Perhaps no one who has ever loved Las Vegas could have prepared for this moment, when iconic casinos like the Bellagio, Caesars Palace, MGM Grand, and the Venetian Luxor and Wynn gradually become emptier than ever. The clatter of dice, the cheers of victory, the clinking of glasses after midnight, all were swallowed by a long silence. Ironically, the dazzling neon lights are exposing a harsh emptiness, a glamorous stage without actors. The seemingly small absence of a group of tourists from Canada, Europe, or winter snowbirds had such a serious domino effect. From the historic Fremont Street to the bustling Strip, from convention halls to luxurious hotels, Las Vegas is undergoing a quiet but painful transformation. From an entertainment paradise to a land that resembles exile. According to economist Stephen Miller at the University of Nevada, international visitors to Las Vegas in 2025 will decrease by 6.5%, with a drop of up to 11% in June alone. The first time since the pandemic that the city has seen a double-digit decline. Harry Reid International Airport saw a continuous decline in passenger numbers for 4 months, while hotels reported record low occupancy rates among their highest spending guests, international and conference attendees. Las Vegas is no longer the unstoppable tourism giant. Instead, empty casinos, rising costs, and a struggling tourism industry face a mass exodus of visitors. A Canadian tourist who used to visit Vegas every summer vacation shared, "Vegas has lost its soul. It's too expensive, and that expense doesn't create any added value. People are gradually looking elsewhere to spend their money." A short vacation has now become a gamble with your wallet, where tourists are almost certain to be the losers. Outside, along the casinos, rows of makeshift tents sprang up, where many who once worked primarily in hotels now had to set up sleeping quarters. The streets that once welcomed every footstep now make tourists hurry, both fearful and bewildered. Casino revenue, also known as gaming wins, which is the financial backbone of the city, is declining. Hotels and casinos are starting to report declining profits as visitor numbers decrease, stays shorten, and guests spend more cautiously. A veteran manager admits, "Vegas hasn't collapsed, but the cracks are clearly showing." And it's those very cracks that are causing many people to turn away, not because they've lost at the betting table, but because they no longer feel welcome in a city that once promised to open its arms to everyone. And what's even more frightening is that not only tourists, but even the people who once brought life to this place, the food servers, the bellhops, the security guards, the hallway cleaners, are also gradually disappearing from this magnificent space. The cause isn't a single storm, but a series of relentless waves. Inflation is causing people to tighten their spending. The economy is unstable. The back-to-school season is approaching, and international tourist arrivals, especially from Canada after the tariff boycott, have plummeted. Las Vegas was once born so that everyone, rich or poor, could live large for at least a few days. So, If even Vegas is gradually losing its soul, is there any place left in America that can hold on to that dream? And as the dream fades in the city of dreams, how many places in America can still hold on to hope for future generations? As tourists fled, the tourism industry, the lifeblood of Las Vegas, immediately faltered. And as that blood vessel weakened, casinos, which once generated over 27% of the city's jobs, slowed down, resulting in thousands of people losing their jobs and sliding from a warm home onto the streets. If you step into Las Vegas in 2025, you'll realize bets here are no longer confined to casinos. That bet has entered a completely new phase. Just as the invasion of the homeless is no longer confined to scorching sidewalks or dark underground tunnels, it has begun to take root deep within casinos, once the most solid symbol of the American dream of prosperity. It won't be difficult for you to spot rows of makeshift tents made from scraps of fabric and wooden pallets stretching right across the Strip, in the heart of America's most luxurious tourist area. In 115-degree Fahrenheit heat, hundreds of homeless people are huddled together just steps away from million-dollar roulette tables, trying to survive. According to the Southern Nevada Homeless Continuum of Care, as of early 2025, nearly 8,000 homeless individuals were recorded in Clark County, and the actual number could be much higher if you include those living in broken-down vehicles, underground culverts, or under overpasses. What's more remarkable, these aren't strangers drifting of Vegas. They were once an integral part of this city's tourism engine. A single mother who cleaned hotel rooms, a shuttle bus driver who took guests from the airport to the city center, or a veteran who once believed the country would not abandon them. In a city with up to 150,000 hotel rooms, it's bitter that thousands of people can't find a safe place to rest their heads. Even more frighteningly, homelessness is no longer limited to the downtown area, but has spread throughout the entire Las Vegas Strip, with an increase of up to 56% in just 3 years, a figure that many tourism managers admit is difficult to control. On platforms like TripAdvisor and Yelp, a multitude of reviews from travelers reflect unsafe experiences. Being harassed, walking through streets reeking of homeless waste, or witnessing shouting or fights over a bench on the balcony. Some people describe that they couldn't enjoy their vacation because the chaotic and out-of-control atmosphere surrounding the Las Vegas Strip made their travel experience worse than ever. Even large hotels like the Flamingo or Luxor couldn't stay out of it. They increased the night security budget, warning tourists not to walk after 10 p.m. Some restaurant and souvenir shop owners spoke out. Customers aren't stopping anymore. They saw that sight and left immediately. My revenue has decreased by more than half since the camp was built. If this situation continues, he could become one of them in the future. The growing homelessness crisis is becoming increasingly out of control. The problem remains, and decades of this have created an endless cycle of despair. Homelessness increases, tourism declines, the economy weakens, and even more people lose their homes. It's no longer a cycle of crisis. It's a vortex slowly sucking the light out of the city once considered immortal. If Las Vegas, a symbol of the resilience of the American economy, is also facing a chain of collapses, what awaits other cities? Are we still playing a game, or are we just people caught in a downward spiral program to never stop? Looking at economic reports, one easily encounters dry phrases like recession, supply-demand imbalance in the accommodation sector, or structural crisis of the local economy. However, behind those grand words, the real reason is much closer. The high cost permeates every detail of the trip. It wasn't an immediate, devastating storm that brought down Las Vegas, but rather a gradual drip that eroded the confidence of visitors. Those who lived through the golden age of Vegas still remember it very well. Back then, the city was truly hospitable. A buffet for just $9.99, a spacious room for around $0, no extra fees, and free parking. At a blackjack or craps table, You only need $5 to participate. It's a Las Vegas where anyone can live large for at least a few days, spend a few hundred or even a few $1,000s, and still feel welcome. But today, that memory seems to have faded. Vegas now demands that visitors spend as much as possible, maximizing profits for the casinos. But the real benefits for guests are dwindling. The parking lot has been fitted with additional fee signs. A simple bottle of water can be priced as high as $6. The nearly $50 resort fees charged for low-value services make players feel like they are being forced to pay for nothing. And even the core experience at the betting table is no longer intact. Previously, blackjack often paid out 3-2, meaning a 0-0 bet would win 50. Now many casinos only pay 6-5, bet 0-0, and only win 20. The number on the scoreboard is small, but for those who have been with the team for a long time, it's a significant change. Unfortunately, most tourists only realize this when their wallets are empty. The numbers clearly reflected that rift. International tourist arrivals decreased by approximately 6.5%, equivalent to nearly 3 million visits disappearing within a year. Each cancelled trip means thousands of meals are not served, hundreds of hotel rooms remain empty, and dozens of job opportunities are lost. A housekeeper in the city centre shared that the team used to have 80 people, but now there are fewer than 20, and half of them work part-time. That scene was a heartbreaking snapshot of a city that was once full of life. In this gloomy painting, there is still a glimmer of light. Some experts believe that if Vegas returns to the hospitality spirit that made it famous, reduces unnecessary expenses, and reinvests in the true experiences of visitors, the city still has a chance to revive. Large corporations like MGM Resorts or Caesars Entertainment could hold the key, as they are the ones who shape the value that visitors perceive. If even a city that was once born so that everyone could live large once in their life becomes an expensive trap, how many other paradises in America will follow this path? And how will future generations pay for today's short-sightedness? If Las Vegas was once known as an endless stage of light, today many streets resemble a different play, where tents sprout along the sidewalks, where darkness creeps under the bright billboards, and where stories of security and vice are becoming a topic of discussion among the tourists themselves. That contrast makes many people feel both sympathy and fear, because the city that once symbolized the American dream now reflects social cracks that cannot be hidden. On central roads, many vacant lots and wide sidewalks have been transformed into temporary tent cities. Some reports indicate this situation has increased in recent years, but it's difficult to get precise figures. Along with these stories, there are tales being told. Tourists being hustled, local residents worried about petty theft, and a growing sense of unease when stepping out of brightly lit buildings. Although not always verified, that image is still powerful enough to strongly affect the psychology of both those who come and those who go. Many hotels, restaurants, and shops that once relied on tourist traffic are now feeling the pressure. Some business owners shared that they are facing both rising operating costs and concerns for the safety of their employees. The servers, security guards, and taxi drivers, the heartbeat of the city, are now also caught in the vortex of uncertainty. Meanwhile, the government and police are constantly putting out fires, temporarily cleaning up, only to see tents pop up elsewhere, like a loop with no way out. The problem isn't just that the landscape loses its glamour. When security is questioned, tourists begin to shorten their stays, avoid previously crowded areas, and even consider choosing safer destinations. The feeling of not being welcome crept in, and even though it might have stemmed from a vague worry, it was enough to make them turn away. And for a city that lives off the trust of tourists, that's the hardest blow. Some experts believe that the solution for Vegas cannot simply be a superficial cleanup. Long-term investments are needed in affordable housing, community health services, and especially in restoring the values that once made this city beloved. Hospitality, safety, and a sense of being valued. Large corporations like Caesars Entertainment have been repeatedly called upon to participate in community projects, as only when businesses work together can this cycle slow down. If even the city once dubbed the City of Lights allows the darkness of crime, vice, and tents to cover every street, where can we place our trust for future generations? Las Vegas was once hailed as the city that never sleeps, where every dollar spent generated a cascade of jobs, services, and experiences. However, the decline in tourist arrivals and the emptiness of casinos are revealing another reality. When one card falls, the whole deck trembles. And with an economy so heavily reliant on tourists, this instability could last much longer than many people think. Some reports indicate that when tourist numbers decline, the impact isn't limited to casinos or hotels. Restaurants lost a steady stream of customers. Retail stores became deserted. Taxi and ride-hailing drivers had fewer trips. And even art performances, the soul of Vegas, were forced to cut back on shows. This chain reaction unfolds like a domino effect. One piece falling will cause a series of others to topple as well. Direct laborers are the first group to be affected. Many service staff, housekeeping, and security personnel shared that their working hours were cut. They were switched to part-time work, or they lost their jobs altogether. That means thousands of families have to struggle to pay for rent, food, and their children's education. Some stories are told that people who once served guests at lavish parties now have to stand in long lines at soup kitchens. It was a contrast that was heartbreaking. The dazzling lights on the strip and the silent shadows spreading backstage. The ripple effect also touched the community's overall trust. Local residents are worried about the instability of an economy that is dependent on a single sector. Small businesses are on edge due to the risk of closure. Local authorities are forced to find alternative revenue sources while budgets are increasingly strained. And above all, tourists, the city's lifeblood, are starting to wonder if Vegas is still a worthwhile destination to return to. If one card falls and the whole deck starts to collapse, will we have the courage and wisdom to rebuild it? Or will we just sit and watch the entire game crumble before our eyes? Every night, Las Vegas still shines brightly as if nothing has changed. The flashing million-dollar billboards, the avenues bathed in light, the stages still trying to hold onto the rhythm of a city that never sleeps. But behind that curtain are people rarely seen. The silent workers who carry the weight of an entire giant entertainment machine on their shoulders. And now, they are the ones suffering the deepest wounds as Las Vegas reels. These are the housekeeping staff who worked for many years and are now having their hours cut in half. That's the waiter who used to carry hundreds of trays of food during a lavish party, now having to stand in a long line to receive food assistance. As security guards, drivers, and technicians, the people who keep the city running like clockwork, they are now forced to struggle from day to day. Some stories are told that people who once worked in famous hotels now have to sleep in old cars parked on the outskirts of the city. Those people once believed in the stability that Las Vegas offered. Abundant jobs, opportunities for advancement, a city that could support a family. However, when casinos are empty and tourist numbers plummet, that stability turns out to be as fragile as a house of cards. Job loss, unstable income, and insufficient housing, all of these push them into the shadows where neon lights never reach. The loss doesn't stop with the individual. It's spread into gaps within the community. When an employee loses their job, not only is their family affected, but small shops, local schools, and the surrounding service network also fall into a downward spiral. The price of being overly dependent on the tourism and gambling industries suddenly became clearer than ever. But even in that darkness, there is still room for hope. Some observers believe that Las Vegas can find a way forward if it invests back in the people, the individuals who built the city's brand. It's not just about short-term profits, but also about training programs, new career opportunities, and real support for those being left behind. Large corporations like Caesars Entertainment are perfectly capable of taking the lead, pioneering initiatives that integrate business and social responsibility. If the people who once stood behind the neon lights, the ones who made the city's soul, now have to leave the stage, what does the remaining light on the strip really mean? Las Vegas, once hailed as an oasis in the desert, where light, music, and dreams of wealth converge, now stands at a crossroads. Empty casinos, streets filled with tents, and turned-away tourists seem to signal a period of decline. However, the big question isn't what has Vegas lost, but rather, what can Vegas still save? Some observers believe that Vegas's current decline could be just a wake-up call forcing the city to change. Behind the inherent fragility of glamour, now is the time to find a new path. The city may no longer be able to attract tourists solely with betting tables or neon lights, but there are other doors to open: professional sports, international music festivals, and technology conferences and exhibitions. The future may lie in diversification rather than putting all hopes on a single card called casino. That hope is also linked to people, the employees, workers, and local community. Vegas can only be revived if the very people who make up the city's soul are reinvested in new vocational training, sustainable job opportunities, and a strong safety net so that no one is left behind. If Vegas once welcomed the world with generosity, today they themselves need a warm embrace from their own city. It cannot be denied that the challenges are piling up: economic instability, rising costs, and declining tourist confidence. But in every crisis, there is an opportunity. If it can reinvent itself, Las Vegas could once again become a model, not just of entertainment, but also of adaptability and resilience. This could be an opportunity for the city to rewrite its story, from a symbol of extravagance and chance to a hub of culture, sports, and technology. Some major corporations, such as MGM Resorts, are expected to lead this reshaping process. By investing not only in luxurious infrastructure but also in people and communities, they can contribute to restoring trust and bringing Vegas back as a truly appealing destination. If Las Vegas, once bright and immortal, can find hope again in adversity, can we do the same for our own communities and generations? As the neon lights fade, the question is not just for Las Vegas, but for the entire United States. If a city once built on the belief that everyone has a chance to live big is now struggling to find its soul, what can we still offer to future generations? Is the American dream just a memory, or is there still a chance to rewrite it? What do you think about the future of Las Vegas? Will it be a revival or a sad chapter in history? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you find this story thought-provoking, don't forget to hit like and share so more people can learn about it. And subscribe to the channel to follow future analyses of the social changes shaping America today. The content in this video is based on publicly available information and synthesized observations. Some details may not have been fully verified and are intended for illustrative purposes only, to paint a comprehensive picture, and are not absolute statements. The author does not represent any organization, business, or government, and does not call for any specific political or social action. The sole objective is to stimulate reflection and dialogue, allowing each audience member to draw their own conclusions.